No socks at all. Okay, so I'll try and get all the names right for most of the day. So Jake is going to start. If we're just going to give them 1 minute, so a little bit something about themselves and why they're the best candidate for the VPSI role.
Hi everyone, thanks for coming. My name is Jake, or whatever Tristan wants to call me on the day. I'm the chairman of the futsal, football, and the chairman of the whole athletic union, which is quite exciting. I've been in those positions since 2014. You may be thinking, oh, it's that guy off the telly. I'm actually not. I just hosted Big Brother in the SU, not the real Big Brother. You'll see me a lot around campus. Please do speak to me if you've not met me before, and I can introduce to you.
Hi everyone, my name is Ohio and I'm the current Vice President of Student Involvement. And as we said previously, were I to be elected, it would be like an easy rollover, whereas I wouldn't have that buffer period where I'd have to get used to the job. I have built some good relationships which will make it a lot easier to continue to improve the student experience.
Hi, I'm James Bingham. I'm a third year film and TV student. I'm also the Books Student Union project leader for film and TV. Film Society chairman. I work on a bar as a team leader. I'm the host of the quiz as well, but I'm not allowed to promote myself at the quiz, which is a bit nice. I also film for Crash Duke, and I've been great for a role because I'm already involved with loads of sports and societies, and I do loads of volunteering as well. Cool.
Thanks very much. Right, we're going to take some questions.
Just throwing it, just throwing it. You just wildly threw it in the air.
I've had a special briefing about how to handle the microphone already. It's perfect, good form. So this year, lots of positive changes have been made from sports teams, or for sports teams, but societies have been slightly overlooked. That's one opinion. How are you going to work with, especially the small societies, to see they get what they need?
That's a fantastic question. Obviously I've been a big part of sports teams, but I understand that completely societies are just as important, if not sometimes more important. I've had a good chat with the people that work I've had a good chat with the people that have been working with the societies this year, and I feel like we can really work with them and improve this. One of my points in the manifesto, I'm not afraid to share it, is that we will really work with the accreditation system, doubling up that you'll be able to come in, put in your accreditation system for very small societies, because obviously the societies have got the new accreditation system this year, and this will double up your volunteering as well. So it's something that we really need to work with, getting people into the new societies, which is not just getting these small societies slightly bigger, it's creating new societies as well. And anyone that has any ideas at all for a society, we can really work with them and help them out with those ideas.
Thank you.
So one of the things that I wanted to bring in this year as a VPSI is that I wanted to remove the stigma that people think I'm Vice President of Sport when I'm really not. I'm Vice President of everybody's non-academic experience. Every time I go to the Societies Council, which we actually have one tonight, I always make it evident to all the chairs and sets that I am there to help them as much as Lauren is there to help them, as much as Amy is there to help them. And we have had some really good growth this year. If we take Pole as a prime example, I think they had about 40 people at their general activities and my fitness session on Thursday. We've had an increase in the number of societies, so it would be a case of building what I've been doing this year with regards to being a bit more personal with the committees as well, letting them know that I value them just as much as I value the sports teams.
So I'm a lot more involved in societies and sports and volunteering, but I've managed to get Being Econ Society 2 Gold accreditation, which is now actually outstanding accreditation. And I still need to work on societies a lot more than sports, like Tristan said, because sports is seen as this big thing in the university and union, and societies are just they are overlooked, and it just needs to be more in terms of accreditation and opportunities. That's what I'd like to give to that.
Okay, James, hang on to the mic. There are roughly, actually slightly more people involved in societies than sports, as it happens. And we've got something like 20% of the current student body involved in a student activities programme, maybe slightly higher. But how would you try and improve that? How would you try and get more students engaged, particularly students in what have been traditionally called hard to reach groups, so maybe mature students, and we've got a lot of mature students here, part-time students, and students who commute and don't live in or around campus.
Okay, for me it'd be a lot about working in Freshers Week, to get people more engaged within these sports and societies. Going on for like the first time, Sports Corner be a big part of that as well as rank. Getting like particular sessions. If you don't want to be like in a big sport, you can try it. You know, fitness aspects as well, and rag and opportunities and training sessions. You keep them specific to like postgrads and mature students, and that's more likely to get a lot more involvement than something like something else. Instead of something else.
Skipping on. As I said before, I think societies are massively important, and it's something I really like to work with. But something that I would improve in the societies are the societies that are lesser known and the ones that people don't realise that they can actually create a society for. So if you are sat here now thinking, I've got a great idea for a society, I'd love to speak to one of these three, whoever gets in office, then please do, whoever it is that gets in, approach it next year, because you can have a site or whatever what you want. As long as you get 10 people that are interested in the same thing as you can make that. Touching on mature students, as you said there, I targeted 2 mature students that graduated this year from 2 different courses, and one thing that they said is that they weren't aware that they could create a mature student society if they wanted to. I understand that there used to be one, but that folded when there wasn't as much interest. But mature student society, if that's something that people are interested in, something that could really work. I've actually been in touch with the head of the Mature Student Society at Hull University, and he's got some fantastic ideas. They recently created a five-a-side team just for mature students, and this is something that within the society could actually have a lot more sort of opportunities there as well, just in the society.
That's great, thanks.
I think a lot of it comes down to approachability as a VPSI. You know, obviously anyone who's got my work account knows how much I tend to post literally all the time, every time about anything that's going on. But you know, we can't be over-reliant on social media. A lot of it's going to come down to targeting specific lecture shout-outs, building relationships with the lecturers and some of the key lectures and seminars they have going on. So at least that way, a mature student who may have only seen me online or in a letter through their post box, they're like, okay, this guy actually cares, he's taking the time out to come and speak to me. I'm going to be more inclined to get involved because he does actually seem to care. So a lot of it is about face-to-face approachability and just letting people know what's going on rather than just emailing, Facebook, Twitter, etc.
That's great, thank you. We'll start with, hi, this time. All three of you have held a position in office or within a committee. What's been your biggest weakness in that position, and how would you plan on improving on that and dealing with that issue?
My biggest weakness is...
Just pick the top one.
Sorry, very slight. My biggest weakness probably when I was varsity captain last year, I think I just get maybe a little bit too over-competitive. I think that's probably my issue, because everyone sort of remembers me dropping the ball in the 6th minute of the rugby game, and it gets me a bit. I scored after, so it's fine. But I think my main weakness probably in that respect last year was just my over-competitiveness.
Okay, and how do you think you're going to address that this year?
I think it's probably speaking to people who've been in those kind of situations before. I like to think I've worked on it a little bit this year, because of being injured again. I haven't been able to play much. Tristan, show up, please. So yeah, just sort of speaking to people who can put themselves in my shoes and find a different perspective on how to deal with it, because if you're constantly questioning yourself on how to deal with something, you might not necessarily find the right answer. So it's about working with my colleagues who are sat here who can just help me through those times.
That's great, thank you. Joe? Jake! Joe, can you come and run for VPSI?
In the same way as Ohio, I believe there's a lot of you sat there probably going, I know what your biggest weakness is, but we don't need to know that now. My biggest weakness as chairman of the 2 sports teams and the one sort of general board that I was chair of this year was getting far too involved in my role, I'd say, which you may think is not possible. But I was getting so involved as football chair, and this was sort of overtaking. I was managing to time manage very well with my role as chairman and looking after everyone and making sure that there was a lot of student involvement in the specific sports that I was in. I was managing to compare this well with my degree, but I was struggling to sort of have a social life and text people back and keep people away back there. So the only thing I can bring into this position is that I will take it so seriously that I will really work hard. So that's my weakness, is probably getting too involved. Hamis?
Thank you.
I'd say a weakness of mine was 2014-15. I was the secretary of Film Society, and not enough people were involved. I didn't really push it that much. And then 2015-16, this year I'm chairman, and we've seen the biggest rise in Film Society attendance, and we've had events of about like 100 people go into them and stuff like that. We give opportunities to people, paid opportunities as well. So I'd say my biggest flaw in that was not putting enough effort into it the first time round, and the second time round, sledding it. So, that was nice.
Thank you very much. Already asked that one, really. Don't be afraid to text in some good questions as well. Okay, use the hashtag BSU elections. How are you going to improve the performance and playing standards of the Bucks sports teams? Is there anything you could do to put in place to help us win more games, James?
Good question. Yeah. I'd say it's a lot about mentality. So maybe not just physical training sessions, but mental training sessions. I'm doing well here. Just, yeah, sort of not just coaching, but mental coaching.
Excellent.
Cheers.
Thank you. This is for Jake.
So there's a few ways I increase the standard of the sports team, so I'm looking to camera. One of my main points of my manifesto is the actual handing back of the ownership of the sports teams and societies to their rightful owners, which is the committees, because I believe that as a committee member this year I did not have enough control over the club as a student, as we have done in the past years. So this year I would really take, as we have done with football, to the main thing that we need to do to increase the ability of the teams and sort of how they're going to work hard is making them actually want to play for the badge on their chest. The big deal is such a fantastic thing, and we should all be so sort of honoured to be at a university that has such things as a big deal, but the only one downfall that I can pick out as a big deal is when it comes to sports teams, people at other universities that pay, say, 250 quid to play, pounds, they have this thing that they've paid and they feel that because they're paid they need to work hard. But the big deal, the only thing that we struggle with is because no one pays, there's a slight sort of looseness around that commitment. So we've really enforced the training, and when it comes specifically to sports teams, which questions have asked about, it would be a very train to play, and people have got to work hard and put in this commitment and volunteer, and they can get their pick there. It's too much time.
I'm going to start firstly by saying that currently our win percentage is a lot higher than it was last year, even though we've got less students, so I think everyone should give themselves a pat on the back for that to start with. Secondly, a lot of it comes down to belief, and that's got to come through the captains, because I would like the captains and the chairs and the secs and the treasurers and the fundraisers to understand that their role is a lot more than just what is put on the paper. A lot of it comes down to man management, because freshers come in, like I was lucky as a fresher because the third year rugby players, they instilled that mentality with me, the box rugby culture. Let's not talk too much about the social side of it, but they from the very start made me believe. I was in that mindset where I knew what it was like to play for the badge, so that was something that I would like special committees to be doing. And secondly, I want as much involvement as the Human Performance Centre as possible. Like, it is a state-of-the-art facility. The official opening of it is on Thursday, so if I was to be elected, I would be liaising quite a lot with the staff who are in charge of that to try and get as much involvement in that as possible, because any means of state-of-the-art facility we have on campus, I think our sports teams have the right to use those facilities. So,
thank you. Just a couple more. Firstly, which historical figure do you think would make a good VPSI?
Historical figure. Am I allowed to say Captain America?
I mean, you're stretching the boundary of the word historical, I think, but you can say Captain America. And why Captain America?
Yeah, so anyone who knows me, I'm a bit of a superhero nerd, and I pick Captain America all the time because You know, his values as a person, like he's a person first, superhero second. You know, everything he does is down to belief, it's down to effort, it's down to just general hard work and determination. I like to use that mentality when I'm working, when I'm playing rugby, like whatever I'm doing. It's a little bit cheesy, but I'm a superhero nerd, so that's what you know.
Thank you very much, James.
I'm going to start off on a bit of a tangent. So when I first got the job in the bar, I had an interview and they were like, what famous people would you like to be in partnership with, blah blah blah. And the first thing I said was Kevin McLeod from Fan Designs. So I'm not going to say that this time because that's just a bit odd. But I'd probably say Nelson Mandela, just because he's a great lad and is missed sorely.
I had to sum up Nelson Mandela's gift to the world and say, top bloke. Excellent, well done. Just a good laugh down the pub as well. Jake.
My historical figure would be the one man that got me involved in the university as it was. That's Ross McLaughlin, unpopular decision round. But when I came to university, I wanted to work hard, and all I wanted to do was get my degree and not play any of the sports. And he taught me that you can get involved, and you can play sports, and you can have a great time while doing it.
Thank you very much. Right, this is the last one. So, is that the grab mic? Would it be possible? Yeah. Why should I vote for you? Not me personally. I can't even get your names right. Why should I vote for you over the other two candidates? Short and succinct, please. Jake, do you want to go first? Draw first, guys.
This is a really tough one to answer because obviously whoever's asked this question is wanting to get really bitchy about each other, which I'm sure some of us will do. But my main 2 points are, as a committee member this year, one of my main points in my manifesto was that I did not feel as a committee member this year that I, as I said before, had the ownership of my club, and I don't feel that I had the power to do enough to work with the officer to sort of increase what's going on with the club. So I'd like to do this year, and I'd like to show out to the committee members that are now that I'll be able to work with you, you'll have complete ownership of the club, and any issues you can come speak to me rather than me telling you to do it. And why else? I feel that from my experience throughout the 2 years, I feel like I'll be the most suited person. I've been in societies and sports, as a couple of people, other people haven't, and I've also done the volunteering and sort of fundraising that there's no hand, we keep going, that we can really raise through that, and I feel like I'm the most suitable candidate because of my experience. That's all I'm going to touch on.
Thank you. Hi.
So, obviously I've been in office for a year, but I don't think it's just down to the fact that I've done the job for a year already. It's about the experience that I can take from it. It's what I've done so far, which I'll be posting about very soon. It's the relationships that I've built with members of staff. It's the relationships that I've built with approaching students who haven't necessarily been on the sports society and trying to get them involved as much as possible. It's my general approachability. I don't want to just keep rambling on and give a whole massive list as to why I should be picked over Jake and James, because if I lost either of them, I'm sure they'd still do a decent job. But I'll be posting a list out as to why people should vote for me later on.
Hello. Yeah, so since my second year, I've been really involved with the SU, not just on the bar, but societies. I might be a lot more societies focused than I'm sports focused, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to work with sports a lot more than anybody else possibly has. But I think I'm grateful for all, so like Jake says, well, all three of us got experience, but I've got a lot more experience from societies than the two of them, I believe.
Okay, thanks very much. I think that's all we've got time for. There's been a few more questions coming through on Twitter. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask all three candidates to tweet back to each of those questions in turn. So if you keep an eye, if you don't mind doing that, if you keep an eye on the BSU elections hashtag, Twitter tag, I don't know what we call it, then hopefully you might get some answers to your questions. Is that good? All right, thanks very much.